Hello and welcome to the Chronicles of Football. This is our third episode, and without any hesitation, let's get right into this week's episode. Alright, so for today's episode, we are going to be talking about the World Cup. Specifically, the World Cup that's happening this year. I know, if you are in tune with football and international soccer or football in general, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it feels that the World Cup is happening next year. It doesn't feel like it's this year. For the sole fact that this year's World Cup is quite different than all the previous years. Usually, the World Cup happens in, uh, July, August, that 2 month period, and during the summer where there's no leagues happening, the season's ended. Um, but this year, because the World Cup is happening in Qatar, the summer months get really hot, so they've placed the World Cup at November to December. The start date is the 21st in November, and then the end date is the 18th and the 19th. 18th being, the third and fourth place game, and then the 19th, the final between first and second. Um, so it's quite interesting. It's at the end of the year, not really towards the beginning, middle of the year. It's towards the end, so it really doesn't feel like the World Cups this year. There isn't really any hype. Usually around this time when the World Cup was happening in 2018, 2014, um, that you just like on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, anywhere on social media, you couldn't hide from it. It was always there. You would see it, and now as we're getting closer, the qualifying stages are ending, and we'll talk about the qualifying stages in a minute. Um, we're starting to see a little bit more on Twitter, but besides that, there's barely any news about it, and which is understandable. There's still, 5, maybe 7 months till the actual World Cup starts in November. But what we're here to talk about today is that if this is your first time watching the World Cup, obviously it's going to be a little bit different. It's not during the summer, it's going to be during the winter if you're here in Canada. Not really any warm weather here during the November, December times. um, but what's interesting is how we're going to see the clubs, the teams handle this, like the leagues, for example, England, Spain, Germany, France, even the MLS here in Canada and the United States. With how how the World Cup and like international football in general works, is that like for example, the Spanish team take chooses what players they want to have on their team, and then obviously the player accepts or denies. So they play for their international league, and then they play for their club team, which is whatever team they play for. Now for a specific team in general, let's go with Spain. Spain, uh, a lot of their players play in the country Spain, a little bit in the England, a little bit in France, Germany, but the majority of the teams players play in their own country. Now let's take Barcelona, the Barcelona's team in general. Their team is mainly Spanish. So when the World Cup rolls around in November, the league started in September. The leagues don't stop; they continue through the season, especially during the World Cup. And so when the Spanish team calls up the majority of Real Madrid and Barcelona's teams because they're Spanish and they have great players, then we'll see a great dynamic in where these coaches and these high level teams scramble to find players on their substitutes, on their reserves, to fill in the spots of their stars that had to leave for international football. If we even talk about like the English Premier League, Manchester United, they have barely any English players, but like for the ones that they do, like Raheem Sterling, Phil Foden, and then like if we go like some other types of players, they have Kevin De Bruyne for Belgium. Their goalkeeper is Brazilian, Allison. So all these players are great players because it's a top team, right? And these players will be leaving for the World Cup. So this great team with great players, Manchester United, Barcelona, Manchester City, they'll all be scrambling to fill in those spots with reserve and substitute players that obviously aren't the same caliber as the starting players. So I feel that this transfer window between July and August this year will be one of the greatest transfer windows we ever see, as we'll see big teams scramble to find players that can fill in the shoes of their stars that won't be going to the World Cup, you know. So we'll definitely see a rise in prices for great players, like for example, Holland, you know, an amazing youngster, but his country didn't qualify for the World Cup, so he's not going to the World Cup, and he's been linked to numerous of teams, Manchester City, PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, you know, and he wants to leave his team, Dortmund, which is in the German league. And so we'll definitely see a fight over him, and we'll see. I guarantee we'll see an enormous price tag on him, as Dortmund would try to see like will try to get as much money out of any team that goes for him this year, especially if it's a big team, which it will be because he's a great player. The thing is that they will try to get the most money because they know that these teams are going to be desperate when November, December rolls around. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Holland go for two, maybe even 350 million dollars this summer. It's it's a crazy fact that is a reality, and um, we will see. We will probably see that absurd amount of money. But nevertheless, after my tangent, we're here to talk about Canada and Canada's World Cup. The last time Canada was actually in the World Cup was in 1986, nearly 30 years ago, if not actually over 30 years ago. And it's quite interesting to me that like Canada isn't a footballing country. You know, we got hockey, baseball, basketball, and that's about the extent of it. It's only recently we've had players like Anthony David or Alfonso Davies. Um, there's a lot of these little players that make it through the seams and break through to Europe and Asia and South America, and they make a name for themselves, which is great. But as a country, as a whole, we're not known as a footballing nation, and I think that this World Cup we can prove it. In the qualifying stages in North America, we went up against Mexico, United States, Ecuador, and some other countries, and honestly, if I'm transparent, I had no hope when we went up against Mexico and the United States for the first time this qualifying stage, because I genuinely see them as a better team, I should say. Sorry, but we proved to them that we don't only have one, two, maybe three good players, but our team is good. You know, and we definitely proved that with only one loss this entire qualifying stage. We Out of all the games we played, we only lost one, and we won every single other game. We were undefeated except for the second last game, which is unfortunate, but we still made a name for ourselves. Uh, and we're qualified for the World Cup. We're going this year, and it's a great thing to be able to support the country that I've been born in. Uh, and I feel that we can definitely make a name for ourselves. Now, this past Friday, the group stage for the World Cup was announced. So, what teams are going to be versing what teams in the group stage? And Canada was drawn in Group F, which is Belgium, Morocco, Croatia, and obviously Canada. Um, it's a tough group. I'm gonna be honest. I was on Twitter on Friday trying to find out what the groups were, and this one guy was like 30 minutes early to the actual drawing, and he like posted this like very legit picture, and I was like, no way. It was a really easy group. It was like Saudi Arabia, uh, I think it was Argentina, Morocco, and Canada. And I was like, if it's like that, definitely Canada will be going second in the group and will make it out of the group stage under Argentina. But unfortunately, it wasn't true. And when the group stages got announced, we got put in Belgium, Morocco, and Croatia. I mean, they got Morocco right. Um, But the other hand is I definitely can see Canada putting up a fight in this. It will be a tough group to beat Belgium with the likes of like Lukaku, Courtois, De Bruyne, just endless names, Eden Hazard, just endless ballers, endless people that have the skill in Belgium. Croatia as well, Modric, he's won a Ballon d'Or a few years ago. It's definitely a tough group, but I feel that Canada will definitely get the best of Morocco. My predictions is Croatia will be a tough game, but I think if we keep what we've done over the group stage with Croatia, we can definitely come up on top. With Belgium, that's a tough one. Belgium's got great players. It's a great institution, great foundation in their playing style. But over the past year, they've had some struggles with fitness, and a lot of their top players have been injured. And if injuries continue, I can definitely see Canada coming up on top. I If there is any loss for Canada this World Cup, it will not be an easy one for the other team. They will definitely put up a fight, especially how they play. I don't see them losing 3-0, 4-0. I see this type of fight in this team that I've never seen before, and I've watched a lot of international soccer or football throughout the years, and this is definitely something that they've worked on for a long time. Alright, this has been this week's episode. Once again, thank you for listening. Make sure you tune in next week as we're going to be talking about the Champions League semi and quarterfinals. So make sure you stay tuned in. Once again, thank you and have a great week.